So it's January 8th and haven't done any videos in quite a while. We had a pretty rough holiday season. The whole family got COVID for the first time and it was extremely bad. Everyone's okay now, but having all three family members sick at the same time was a big challenge. So we've had a pretty crazy weather pattern for the past month or so. We had one time when it was 55 during the day. We got almost 4 inches of rain, and then that night it went down to 5 degrees. So no snow on the ground, saturated soil, just the whole world was an ice cube, which is pretty rough on plants. So we'll see what happens. And then after that, it's just been 50s and even 60s and not even freezing many nights in a row. Pretty crazy stuff. Overall, I think most everything is going to be fine, but it's just pretty wild to have these swings, and got to try to keep an eye on how that impacts growth. And it's also challenging to figure out what to do with your time. You can't really cut trees for firewood and skid them because the ground's sort of soupy. Planting seems a little bit crazy right now, and we haven't had much energy. So anyway, one thing I noticed here, years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, there was a very large tree here. And this was a Norway spruce, which I used to not have a whole lot of love for, but now I've sort of changed my mind. Anyway, this disturbed area, it's got some trees growing in it now. There's a nice peach here and a couple nut trees hidden. This area was the root zone of a tree that was even larger than these. I think it was about that big. So pretty big Norway spruce. I'm gonna say, 100 feet tall. And most of that has been milled by now. A lot of the slash I just put into a pile here, and it's a pretty cool thing that happens. A lot of things happen, really. You've got birds that come and are protected in there from predators, so they poop out all kinds of seeds. And of course, you mow it less, and the deer also mow it less. So this has actually become a real nursery for me for free. So these are white pine seedlings, there's Norway spruce seedlings, the oak are saplings now. Look at that. I mean, that's just natural regeneration here. We've got red oak, we've got white oak. There's a couple bur oak. I just threw some acorns into this. Probably 99% of them were just eaten, but some of them germinated. There's a really nice oak coming out of the middle there. So just out of this one little spot, there's probably 20 oak trees. I've already harvested about 25 pine, probably 15 spruce. And so it's a pretty cool, just natural, spontaneous nursery that you can direct a little bit. And of course, there's all kinds of other benefits to this. The amount of life that's in this pile is probably incalculable. And you can still keep it mowed around the outside a little bit, but it'll just sort of naturally engender all kind of life. I remember it was actually Franz Vera. I was reading Grazing Ecology. Fantastic book, free online. It's available in PDF format. And he talks about these edges as, there aren't that many bramble species here, but the goldenrod and some other shrubby stuff are filling in that role. You have one area that can't be accessed, even if it's a little brush that fell down, or a tree that fell down, or a slash pile that was put there. And brambles get into that through birds, and then the brambles start to, or in this case the non-woody perennials, start to create a sort of expanding outer part that browsing animals don't really want to get into too much. And then blue jays will often come and drop the acorns, although it may have been blue jays, it may have been me in this case. And those will go into the middle of the pile, and you'll start to, over time, get a canopy coming out of this pile and an edge that's encroaching on the nearby grass. And so even in areas with heavy browse and heavy mowing in this case, but there is also heavy browse from... Apologies about that. My phone died and I had to go recharge it, so I've lost my train of thought here. But I was talking about the sort of grazing ecology mindset behind slash piles. It was also a forestry management technique of creating a spot where there will be a lot of good regeneration because browsing has been subdued, at least, and seed dispersal is more likely because animals that disperse seeds come here to be safe. So another reason that I put this particularly where it is, right about there is direct north in the center of the screen. So the house is here, and to the north, the northwest, we've got these nice big Norway spruces. And Norway spruce is the plural? I don't know. Moose, spruces, I don't know how that works. But so we have a few other deciduous trees directly to the north, a really big black locust behind this catalpa. And these are all oaks and black locust and some cherry and deciduous. But what I want is conifers, especially in this corridor, because this happens to be the exact corridor where nor'easters get in, and basically what happens is a ton of snow deposition and wind that blows directly at the house from this angle. And the catalpa doesn't do much, maybe a little bit, but because it's deciduous, it doesn't block the wind nearly as much as I'd like it to. So over the years, I've planted a lot of stuff over here, and for whatever reason, basically it won't grow. I don't really understand it. That's a 5-year-old Persian walnut and an oak and a shipmast locust. Nothing grew here. So I don't know if there's something with the soil. But so I figured helping some natural seedlings start would be a better option, because I don't really care too much what's growing here, except I want it to be a mix of a lot of trees to block the wind with some evergreens. So I also have a bunch of thuya hybrids that I'm going to plant in here, and I'll be leaving some of these pines and spruce. But anyway, so that's the design piece. Is I wanted to block winds in the winter from coming in and cooling off the house and depositing snow on the porch and around where we walk to our cars. Because like this spot where the tractor is, even in a heavy snowstorm, and the other spots over there, these spots were chosen because there's almost no snow that falls there. Even we get 16 inches, there's 1 inch on your car over here. It's really nice. And so I'd like to create that effect on a larger scale, have most of the snow drop right around here rather than in the area that sees a lot of traffic between wood storage, wood drying, parking, and the house. So we want that area to have as little snow as possible. Of course, if it's coming straight down, that's unavoidable, but if it's coming in from a nor'easter, we can stop a lot of that. So my response was to put a pile of sticks in front of the house right to the north. Anyway, those are some thoughts as to the value of these brush piles as far as regeneration goes, and how that fits into the design around our home. The big energy savings really comes in with the wind reduction. So This is the side of the house that faces north. And right here, from that black locust, which is nice and tall, to that spruce in the west, which is really tall, there is probably about 150 feet that's wide open to the north. In this block here, there's a couple trees that are going to take the space. There is a spruce on the other side of that juniper that you can't see from here, but there isn't that much here that's going to get really tall, and not a lot of conifers. So as this natural break comes in and I plant a couple more things, I would like to have, maybe not necessarily in my lifetime, but at some point, from that spruce all the way over to that black locust, should have a predominantly coniferous, an intact canopy all the way across. And that would really dramatically reduce the amount of winter wind that gets in our house, which costs a lot to heat. So that's how we would be saving energy for the long term. Of course, it is a very long game, but the trees that are growing in here are substantially younger than the ones that I planted here and growing much faster. So there is something to be said for that natural seedling vigor, and growing out of a pile of rotting wood really helps them out.